The problem is there's a permanent national security state in the United States that is supported by the establishment wings of both parties and the media that always favors war. They always want more war. They always want it to continue for a lot of different reasons. Yeah, I think there's a huge pro-war sentiment and bias on the part of DC elites who don't have to send their kids over to fight. They have other families do it for them.
Glenn Greenwald, a Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist. Glenn, it's stunning to see the turnaround in statements from 1 month ago, both from President Biden and from General Mark Milley, to the reality on the ground 1 month later. Were these leaders wrong, or were they lying to us about what they were seeing 1 month ago?
I think we've been hearing a consistent message basically since the beginning of the war in Afghanistan, going all the way back to December 2001, when George W. Bush essentially proclaimed that the Taliban had been vanquished and defeated. The same message being that the United States was making great progress in building up the Afghan national security forces, and they would soon be able to stand on their own in defending the government and protecting the country against the Taliban, when we know for certain, not speculatively, but for certain, that inside the government, military leaders and political officials for at least a decade privately were recognizing that what they were assuring the public was true was actually a lie, that the Afghan National Security Forces were a joke. And therefore, the reason it seems shocking to watch the Taliban overrun Afghanistan isn't because we left Afghanistan. Donald Trump wanted to leave Afghanistan too, and wanted to do it quickly, and I supported him in doing so. The reality is the Taliban was always going to take over once we left. The reason it's shocking is because the government, up until 5 weeks ago with Biden and Milley, and going back years, was lying to the public that there was a viable police and military force there that could protect the country when there never was.
Yeah, there obviously was not. Reality has just interrupted that lie. So who are we to trust going forward, Glenn, as we look at this? I think there is a worthy debate, and you and I might fall on separate sides of this debate, on whether or not we should have left some residual force in Afghanistan, not to nation build, not to try to bring democracy to Afghanistan, but whether or not to serve as a forward operating base to fight terrorism. But I don't know who we can trust to give us the reality on the ground moving forward. Certainly not the President of the United States, and it doesn't appear to be the top military leadership as well.
Well, again, I mean, if Donald Trump had succeeded in his plan, if he had been reelected and followed through on his commitment, he would have removed all troops from Afghanistan. I support him,
right.
And Joe Biden in that, because this is the longest war in American history. And I think we have to come to grips after what we've seen in Iraq and Syria and Libya, that no matter how well-intentioned we might be, no matter how poorly intentioned we might be, no matter how great our strategy sounds in think tanks and, State Department and Pentagon offices in Washington, we can't control other countries on the other side of the world using military force. These are very complex, old, and very different countries. And every time we try, we seem to make things worse, not just for those countries, but also for ourselves. We lost thousands of lives and billions of dollars in Afghanistan, only for it to go right back to 2001 as if the whole thing had never happened. And at some point, we have to restore humility to our own sense of what we can do in the world with regard to other countries. We're having a hard enough time managing our own country.
Glenn, I read your Twitter feed today. You heard me probably in the introduction to this segment apportion blame directly to Joe Biden. But I have to be honest with you, my antennas go up just a little bit, because I'm sharing an opinion, at least in that respect, that seemingly everyone else in the media shares. I could put it on Morning Joe or put it on CNN. I could listen to every single national security analyst, and everyone is mad at Joe Biden today. It does make my antennas go up a little bit. Should it?
Absolutely. I think that, look, if you look at the lives of the American people and what they're struggling with and what they care about, this is what I was always saying about Russiagate, is I don't think Americans are waking up worried about Vladimir Putin. I don't think Americans are waking up worried about how Kandahar and Kabul are being governed. The problem is there's a permanent national security state in the United States that is supported by the establishment wings of both parties and the media that always favors war. They always want more war. They always want it to continue for a lot of different reasons. And I think that the presidents that get attacked the most are the ones who defy that. When Obama refused to attack a Assad when Donald Trump tried to improve relations with Russia and with Syria, and now Joe Biden doing what multiple American presidents in polls have overwhelmingly showed Americans want, which is finally ending this 20-year-old war. So, yeah, I think there's a huge pro-war sentiment and bias on the part of D.C. elites who don't have to send their kids over to fight. They have other families do it for them.
Glenn Greenwald, always interesting. Thank you so much for being with us on this show tonight.
Thank you, Will.
All right.
The problem is there's a permanent national security state in the United States that is supported by the establishment wings of both parties and the media that always favors war. They always want more war. They always want it to continue for a lot of different reasons. Yeah, I think there's a huge pro-war sentiment and bias on the part of D.C. elites who don't have to send their kids over to fight. They have other families do it for them.